to imagine all life as you know it stopping instantaneously and every molecule in your body exploding at the speed of light.
Total protonic reversal.
Protonic reversal.
Protonic reversal with your host, Conan Neutron. Broadcasting from a secret underground lair in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
A gigantic middle finger to everything that is rotten about music, rock and roll, and corporate power.
The thing is, though, if you don't laugh, you're going to go on a killing spree with sharpened nails.
Confidence of a hero or a fool. I wasn't exactly certain which.
Could not be more professional.
It means something. It means something. You know, that's my take. What's yours?
Protonic reversal.
That's like a science thing, right?
Indeed it is. It is a science thing. It's a science place. It's a scientific fact. They were all up in your face this time once again for the one, the only Protonic reversal. Welcome to it, and also welcome to it. I am your host, Conan Neutron. I am a rock and roll lifer who has toured and recorded for over 22 years, most known for the band Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends. Music is a huge part of my life, and I use the format of this very long-running podcast to talk about music and musicians whose work I enjoy and respect. Folks that may or may not be household names, but do something very special. This is episode 274. If this is your first time listening to the show, all the archives are at protonicreversal.com and are always free. No ads, no sponsors, no kidding. If you'd like to support the show and get episodes sooner, you can give $1 a month to patreon.com/protonicreversal. If you like the show, or even just a single episode, please feel free to share it along, like, subscribe, or post a review. All that helps people find the show, and it's just a darn nice thing to do. Special treat for you guys, Sunday Quarantimes edition of Protonic Reversal. We got almost the whole band. 3/4 is pretty good. 75% is a passing grade. And I'm very, very excited to be talking to these gentlemen, of two of which John and Mike are returning, but Tom for the first time. Let's just get right down to it. We got Tar, baby. We got Tar. Hey, fellas.
Hello.
Welcome to the show.
Thank
John,
you.
I appreciate you tagging your username to include your role and position in the band. That's very professional of you.
Yeah, I've spent too much time on Zoom the past 2 years.
So just for the audio only listeners, if we can just go ahead and go around the room and everyone can introduce themselves so they can get acquainted with the different voices, that would be lovely.
Mike Greenlees. That's me.
John Mohr.
Tom Zaluckyj.
Drums, guitar, vocals, and bass.
That's right.
Nice.
Gents, this is a treat, man. It's great to have you. I've been really, really glad that you guys have been not only active as a band as much as one can be active as a band in COVID times, but kind of giving a lot of effort towards the back catalog and presenting it. The box sets were really beautiful. How did all that come to pass? Was that something that was kind of grinding on for a while, or was that relatively recent?
Well, we had some time.
You need a project during COVID times, you know?
This is true.
I think it started with putting up a Bandcamp page and throwing up some live tapes or some live recordings. And, you know, those first 3 records have been out of print for a long, long time. And I think we had thought about it, but it was like, well, it does seem like a window of opportunity here.
Absolutely. And there's been interest in the band that has, you know, including folks that maybe never got a chance to see you the first time around. Right. So then there's a whole new group of fans that, especially when stuff is not in print anymore, although what does that really mean in these days? I don't know. But you can you get to get a whole new generation of folks that maybe never had the chance to.
Yeah.
Copy.
And
That's awesome.
those records in particular were not even streaming anywhere with any, I mean, beyond YouTube, people put the stuff there. But, nice to have the actual original mixes mastered and up there in high def or whatever the hell it is.
Was it kind of a trip revisiting all those older songs? Was it like a time travel experiment?
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't heard any of it in any quality. I don't know if these guys had, like, since we, probably since they were first out, just like cassette recordings that had been digitized, stuff like that. Whatever was on YouTube was what I had listened to of those records.
I think for me, it was when they were mastered, Bob Weston did it. It was a solo effort on his part, right? No one was allowed in the same room pre-vaccines. And so once they had been remastered, it was, I don't know if revelation's the right word, but there was a lot more to hear than there was on the released copies. So that was pleasing because I think the thinking was that we could get them to sound better. And I think we hit that mark.
Tom, what was your thoughts on all that?
I was just happy to be along for the ride.
Spoken like a true bass player.
No, unfortunately, I'm not around. I live in Los Angeles, so for me, it was fun to see it all happening, but I didn't get to participate very much, as much as I would have liked to. So, but it's still really fun, and it's pretty neat to see it all come back out again. And
I think it's actually amazing that you guys have been able to do as much as you've been able to do. And I'm thinking it's that fantastic All Tomorrow's Impeachments show that Scott Pico organized.
Two of them.
Really great. Two of them, yeah. And things along those lines to like kind of keep it adventure based when not only do you have the not everyone in the same area kind of thing, but everyone's got other obligations. Everyone's got like lives and I don't, spoiler alert, no one's 20 years old anymore, right?
Not really.
No, it's been 30 years since those records first came out. Is that right? 30 years?
Yeah, about
30 plus.
31 since Jackson came out. Or 30 since Jackson came out.
Yeah, Jackson
was 91, so.
So then it's an aesthetic choice, right? It's a choice to like make this something that's important, that you're going to put some time and effort to. And then also you have the converse side of you got to, when you're doing a show, you have to learn the songs. It's not like you're going to forget how they went, but what are the intricacies of it? Something that like, oh, we did that. That's interesting. So let's go. Let's kind of, I understand this, and this difficulty of having a whole band is that let's hear everyone's individual answers. Tom, you go first. Then we'll go John and then Mike. So, Mike, you get to think it out the most.
So yeah, when you don't play the songs for a long time, there's a lot of little things in our songs that you have to remember, little accents, changes, things like that maybe only Mike and I do, or stuff like that, and something you don't think about, 30 years later. So you listen to it and go, oh, wait a minute, what was I doing there? Oh, wait, that's right, I forgot about that. So it's a lot of muscle memory and, just trying to dig deep, trying to remember what you played sometimes.
John, how about yourself?
Yeah, I think Tom's hit it. The muscle memory isn't really there. And in the lead up to the 2017 shows, Mike and Mark and I and a friend were able to get through rehearsals, which helped a lot, but it's not the same until Tom is there with us. And so it's both exciting, and then we were a band that always practiced a lot, and so with years off, it was different, and like a lot of the nuances and stuff that were just sort of chiseled in through practice and a lot of touring, like those were a bit harder to grasp. But what are you going to do? Might as well play.
Indeed. Mike, what was your?
Yeah, I think might as well play is the answer. It's just I think we're as a group more inclined to say, yeah, let's do it. Whether I don't think we're gonna ever get it to what it was exactly. And my hat is off to bands that can do that, because I don't know how I would get. I mean, right now I'm at a place where I've been playing drums for months. It's not what it was. It just isn't. But, I feel like 2018, with that show you mentioned before, the All Tomorrows and Impeachments things that Scott put together, there were moments on stage where it felt like, yeah, I remember that. And, that wasn't there in the rehearsals. Like, God bless our friends who helped us on, relearn the songs. But when Tom was like the practice where Tom came back, we did like one, I think, rehearsal with Tom before we did the 2 shows. And it was like, oh, damn, that's right. That's what it's like. Yeah, we came pretty close during those shows. Hopefully we can get it to that again sometime.
Well, and so you guys bring up an important point. Tom, with you being the furthest away, like, are you practicing the records? Like, like, what are you doing? Like,
not typically, but I mean, if we're gonna do a show, that's pretty much what you do.
Yeah.
Put on the records and start remembering. And actually, the best way for me to remember how to do everything is just to remap the songs again myself, because you write it all down, you have to listen to it over and over and over and rewind and go, oh yeah, there's all those little things, and you catch it all, then you remember it a lot better than if someone writes it down for you and says, here, go ahead and play it.
Like, here's some cheat music. Yeah.
Right. Here's your cheat sheet. Now try it. So I still got to count and all the other stuff.
And things change in a live band.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a push.
And the dynamics change and everything else.
Yeah. When we were rehearsing and we had a friend helping us on bass, and he was playing the version of Transfer from Jackson, and we were like, oh, no, there's a live edit. That's the way we play it live here.
You're right. Yeah. Because you'd be forgiven if you only, like, oh, yeah, I'll listen to the records. And it's like, yeah, not exactly. Close, but not exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
The songs were sometimes not done yet back when we recorded them. Apparently, it changed playing live after we knew what John's vocals were. Things changed a little bit.
Yeah, there'd be subtle things. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if I may, we were awful clever, maybe too clever for our own good. So, switching time signatures or alternating number of repetitions.
We just did what the song needed. That wasn't clever.
Well, it pleased us. I support that. Yeah.
At the time.
But if you
we needed to be playing in different times at the same time.
Right.
If you're playing like the A part 4 times and the B part 4 times, the C part 4 times,
then you got to reverse engineer it later on.
A little bit easier.
Yeah, of course.
What was, I don't know if this is going to delight or amuse or annoy, but anytime we had an overly complicated part in my own old band, I used to call it a tar part. So
thank you, and we're
That's
sorry.
Flattering.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Rose from the Poster Children was saying that they had some song that they called the tar song. It was like a D to B or something.
Yeah, like that real grindy repetition kind of thing. Yeah, which not that was all you guys did, but it definitely was a notable.
They were good at it.
Yeah,
We practiced that part a lot.
Follow your bliss.
I think like 75% of our stuff was just 4 on the floor, start to finish, wasn't it? Maybe we varied the length of time parts were played, and that wasn't consistent, but We didn't stray that far that often from 4/4. Notable examples. Am I wrong? Okay.
You might have to ask each individual member.
There was a lot going on. I mean, so in some of those remasters, listening closely, like for the test pressing part, like hearing what I'm playing and what Mark's playing and what Tom's playing, it was just, again, and I don't know if you'd call it a revelation, but it was pretty cool because like there was a lot of different things, and it worked. But we had to, sort that out through a lot of, I think, practice and performance.
So that brings up a good point with, with these reissues, and going back and examining this music. Did you find yourself at all being like surprised or sort of like, oh, interesting, why did we do that? Or like, oh, that was cool that we did. Like a new master especially brings out, not that those records were mastered poorly, but of course Bob's a badass. So, it brings out certain elements. You get to hear it in a new context. You get to hear it in a new time. You get to hear it in a present context. Like what did that do? Mike, we'll start with you this time.
Some of them weren't great the first time. If you want I'm no audiophile, but listening to the stuff Bob did and then hearing the test pressings, even though we found things to kick back, it was a revelation to me. Like hearing parts that I didn't really know were there. Some of the stuff in particular Tom's playing on, like for Land Luck, for example, I didn't really realize were even there. Mark's guitar playing kind of jumps out at me too, with parts that I didn't really hear before. It was kind of a big wash in my brain, like the two guitar parts kind of creating overtones and third parts, etc. And hearing, like especially I'm mostly talking about Jackson. I think that one improved the most with this reissue.
I'm glad you said that because I kind of felt the same way. Like I was like, whoa, this is like a new record practically, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and the earlier ones, I think just there were songs I kind of wrote off in my head, like, that was a song that we recorded. I'm digging some of that stuff a little bit more, re-listening to it than I did at the time, even. So I don't know.
Tom, how do you
nostalgia maybe?
Well, for the older stuff, for me, honestly, I didn't really even listen to it because I was in the band then, so it didn't. I liked the music. I always wished I was part of it. So listening to Jackson was a little bit more important to me because that's where I actually joined the band, and my parts actually came into play. So that was really fun to hear again after however long it's been. So yeah, it was fun. It had a little bit more of a live element to it because it was recorded live, and I think the mastering kind of brought a little more of that out. Where, like Mike was saying, you hear more of the overtones, because that was something that I think that didn't really translate as well through records as when we played live. Because when we played live, you hear a lot of the overtones from the volume of what we were doing, and it made other sounds that you just didn't hear before. So some of that translates a little bit more on the record than it used to, for me anyway.
I was really happy with Jackson. Like, I don't know if that's where I started, but I was like, because the pro tip is, if you're going to do a reissue, probably don't do 4 records at the same time. There's a lot of moving parts.
That's a lot.
And so I remember with Jackson feeling this sort of satisfaction of like, okay, this now sounds like how I wanted it to sound, and like how in my head, it should sound. Roundhouse seemed the most improved to me. And Handsome, I don't know. I mean, it was better, but like, maybe in quotes. And the live record wasn't remastered, other than like it being mastered. But it was really nice to hear us playing so well. that road readiness mode.
Right. Yeah. That tour tight kind of.
Yeah. And like we were rocking and we had a swing and friendly, let's call it a friendly banter with the crowd, which is always a delighted part of a guitar performance. If your friends can't insult you, what are they there for?
Yeah. Are they even really friends? Yeah.
Yeah.
Hard to say.
So from my own personal experience with guitar, I basically worked my way backwards. The first one I got was Over and Out. And then Toast. And those are the only two I had for a very long time. Then I was like, oh, there's records before this. And then I went Jackson and Roundhouse in that order. But I know that so and I'm gonna go back to that key time with Jackson. Like as a band, where were you guys at? Obviously, Tom, you're locked and loaded. You're doing your thing. It kind of seems like that's when it all really came together with guitar as we know it.
Oh yeah,
it was crazy when Tom joined. And I was talking to John about this, and I tried to kind of write notes kind of to that effect for the re-release. But like when I look back at the period from when Tom first, tried to, it was barely an audition. We invited him to our friend's house and we had a song written and we're like, well, let's just play this song because Hazelmeyer wants a single.
Was it New Year's Day or day
something like that?
Yeah, and it was out in Streamwood at Cheer Accident had this house out there.
Right.
So
we're like in the living
room and Tom came out and learned this song in 2.5 minutes, basically. And we played it a bunch of times. He put his foot up on the kick drum so he could feel it because the noise, it was really loud and crazy in there. But from that period, from then until we recorded Jackson was 6 or 7 months.
It came together pretty fast.
It was because you just were like a riff manufacturer at that point. At least half of those songs were just bass riffs and jamming in your basement where you lived with Mark.
Yeah, it was helpful because Mark and I lived together, and we would get done practicing, and I would go upstairs in my room, and I would just start playing right away. And I had my 4-track. I'd run back to Mark, and Mark, what about this? What about that? And he and I would come up with more things right away.
Oh, wow, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, so that was really helpful. Us just being roommates and coming from practice and going upstairs and being like, I'm inspired. I want to keep playing. And I would have an idea and keep going with it. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think of it like that period. There was 2 really, really good things, and Mike hit one, which was that Tom joined and brought his talents in riff machining, which was great. And then the other was we had a home base rehearsal location in the basement of where Mark and Tom were.
First time ever, last time ever.
Yeah,
which was really great, and we could practice whenever we wanted, I guess. Pretty much.
So, and did you feel that? So, Tom, what was your take on things coming in as ostensibly the new guy, which is hilarious to think about when I think about how long ago it was, right?
31 years ago.
Well, I remember them playing an AMREP Dope Guns video for me, which I'd never seen before. And all I could think is, what the hell am I getting myself into?
Well, and Brad has the connection, right?
But these guys all seem pretty normal, you know what I mean?
Yes. So, did you think they were going to be a pack of maniacs or something?
Well, from watching the videos, but but Brad Wood's friends with these guys. They got to be all right, he wouldn't hook me up with the wrong bunch of guys.
So Conan, Tom went to high school with Brad Wood.
Yeah, we were next door neighbors for years. So.
Yeah, I've there's a certain person that we all know that has been angling very hard for me to have Brad on sometime. Brad and I are friends through Instagram.
And is it Brad Wood?
No, it's not Brad Wood. Actually. Very funny though, very funny, and that does happen. But he's a fascinating dude in and of itself. But you guys go way back, right? I mean, that's
we've known each other since we were 12 years old.
Yeah. So you You walk in with these guys New Year's Day. They're not, frothing maniacs. As
Right.
the video.
We actually asked Brad to play bass first
Really?
because we had a tour booked.
Right.
And so we said, Brad, I know you can kind of play. Do you want to do this, recording tour with us? And he's like, oh, okay. But
Did you actually say that?
Wait a minute. What's that?
Did you say, we know you can
Kind of play, yeah.
I don't know what the exact words were.
I wonder why he didn't do it.
Yeah, I have my friend Tom. He'll help you.
Sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
Tough crowd. But I think Brad went home and went, wait, Tom just moved back to Chicago. And he's an actual bass player. So, not that Brad isn't. Clearly, he plays bass in bands.
He's quite good.
He's
Dude from the Pogues, in fact.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's on a few pretty impressive
Well,
records.
Brad just probably plays everything, right? He's
pretty much.
Drummer, too. But then he hipped us to Tom, and that was that.
Jumping around a little bit, for me, now the idea of like the metal guitar is almost like it's just a thing, right? But for years and years, like, oh, that's the tar thing. That's what tar is. Like that tar is like the metal. It's like they got that record that has like and it's a specimen, I think, right? That's on the cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's right. Yeah, in the back cover too. And I was like, oh yeah, that's like when I'm gonna show my age here. When I got a metal pickguard, I was like, oh, it's like a tar pickguard. Like that was only you guys. That was the only thing. Of course, now there are full-on aluminum instruments. It's like, it's not that it's like commonplace or anything, but it's certainly not the same. But when did the specimens come in?
Pre Jackson for me. I was just cleaning up some stuff here that has been sitting in the basement for 20 years and tossing some stuff out, and came across I'm looking over here because I think it's in this pile, my second and final check to Ian Schneller for the guitar, and it must have been mid 90. That sound right?
No, it was before that because I got mine in 91. And so it would probably been like, oh, you mean mid 1990? That's probably about right. I'm sorry.
It was between Handsome and Roundhouse, because Handsome, you didn't play it.
Right. But on Roundhouse.
So Roundhouse was made in 90.
But I remember Les Paul playing that Silvertone. I
don't think so.
Well, and was it?
Oh, yeah. There's a video with proof of that, isn't there?
Yes.
So was it something where you're like, oh, that,
You probably wrote it on the Silvertone, though.
Yeah.
Because that was kicking around for a long time before that got recorded.
Was it just an aesthetic decision, or like, oh, those look cool, or like, what? How did that?
So I had the Silvertone I had an aluminum pick guard on it because I was using metal picks, and Silvertone and Danos are made out of particle board, so it was not going to be long for this world if I didn't do something about it.
Right.
And so the local guitar shop was like, well, we can just do like a metal pick guard. I was like, yeah, okay. And I mean, my thought was, well, that's kind of cool, but wouldn't it be cooler if it was a fully metal guitar? And I think I'd run into Ian a couple of times, so I pitched the idea off of him, and he was like, yeah, we can do that. So it was kind of a experiment of sorts. But there was aluminum guitars made in the past prior to that by others, right?
Well, sure, and I it's not that like whatever, like there's Travis Beans in the 70s,
yeah,
the Valenos.
Yeah, the Valenos. Maybe that's what I was thinking of, because they'll be.
I was going to say just PIL, but obviously it's not just PIL that
right.
Valenos, but that's what I first thought of it.
Yeah,
Grand Funk, I think, had a Valeno. Am I wrong?
That's possibility.
I mean, Steve had one kicking around his living room, and I think, maybe that's where I saw it, but that didn't seem like a practical instrument. What with the ruby in it.
Right.
Oh, that's right, in the headstock.
Oh, but yeah, the ruby, yeah.
Well, I had gone to Ian's house one day just to get my bass tuned up.
Mm-hmm.
And I got there and he goes, "Hey, look what I made for you." And he pulls out this aluminum bass and he goes, "This is for you, man." Like, you're kidding me, right?
Whoa.
Well, I have to pay you something. I goes, "Well, yeah, of course, but I'll give you a good deal."
Let's not get it twisted.
I'm not going to tell you what I paid for it. Because
He made that on spec. I didn't know.
Yeah, it was. He made it for me, and
That's
I
cool.
was like, "Wow!" And so I got some money. I made some money, paid him. Next thing you know, I had my own aluminum guitar, and the only thing I had to do was just change some parts along the way to make it a little bit more what I wanted it to sound like. But the thing was that was more of an art piece that he made originally, kind of too. And but when he said he made it for me, I was like, "You're kidding, right?" Because you're in tar now, so you have to have this bass. So I was kind of like, I kind of do. That's kind of how I felt,
That's what I was going to ask, is if it was like an arms race or something, right? Oh, you got a metal guitar. I got to get a metal guitar too. And then suddenly Mike's looking for aluminum drums,
Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about it. He goes, "Hey, look what I made for you." It's like, wow. You're kidding, right?
Yeah, I didn't. It just kind of showed up at practice one day, as far as I could tell, and I didn't. I'm like, Tom had that made. I didn't know he was having a good bass made. I guess you didn't.
No.
And the answer is he didn't actually know. It just happened.
It just happened for me, and I was like, "Wow, that's amazing."
Did you play that on Jackson, or was that still the GNL?
I think I played it on Jackson.
Yeah. I'd say 100%.
Yeah, photographic evidence again.
Yeah, it's on the cover.
It's on the back cover. I forgot.
You may remember that.
I just looked at that picture about 20,000 times over the last year doing the artwork. So
I think the only thing I didn't have at that point was the SVT head on the 810 orange cabinet.
Yeah.
I think I borrowed something from Steve that day or that weekend or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it all came together.
Yeah. So a couple things to go there. First of all, I love that it's almost like the story of ZZ Top with the beards, and they both grew the beards independently of each other and just showed up and like, "Oh, you've got a beard." That's weird too.
I was thinking we should do that.
That would give me a year's notice.
Yeah, I could not grow a beard, and even in a year, I would not have a beard.
I have like a little goatee after about a year, I think.
Mike would look exactly the same a year from now.
His hair, not another gray hair.
Yeah,
that's my shtick. I don't know what to tell you.
I got the same thing going. Also, I look terrible with facial hair personally. But okay, so putting together the box sets and stuff, like going through all that ephemera, are you like going through like boxes in the attic in the basement, or like what's you?
It's in my closet, but yeah. I'm kind of the archivist, I guess. Although after they were finished, John came up with a really nice box of lyrics and stuff. Conveniently, after we were at press.
I thought it was the blatant dissent stuff.
Yeah, but it was the blatant dissent stuff. But there are notebooks in there that are really kind of cool. You've got the lyrics pasted side by side with what you wrote and what you marked up when you were recording, which changed because of the song.
Mm-hmm.
Those are I think those are pretty cool. But, probably maybe not something to share anyway, because in tar fashion, you should leave people like wondering about shit.
Well, so you hit on an important thing, right? That like that's kind of like a thing that band was known for. It's like the certain era of mystery, or just whether it was purposeful or just. That's not. Nobody needs that.
It's just you don't need it, right? But I have so I wrote the notes based on a lot of it was based on notes I took back in the day, and I have notebooks.
Yeah, Mike was great at tour diaries and stuff like that.
That's awesome. So because and the package is amazing. Like it's a real, it's a treat for the fans to be able to like go through and kind of like time travel back to the days of zines and
Yeah, and I always had a camera in somebody's face when we were on tour.
Yeah.
So there were
There's like 80% of the photos of me are flipping you off. Unfortunately. not
I'm sure it's not 90.
Everybody. It's like put a camera on them, and it's
not my finest hour.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, the Conan, all of the art. I mean, Mike should be commended because it wasn't just we took
a great
the original art and tweaked it, but like it was all lost to the sands of time. So it was all recreated. And we couldn't recreate Roundhouse, so we reimagined it.
I was going to say that seemed almost more reimagined than recreated. That you took words out of my mouth, and that's interesting in and of itself too, because when you think about reissues and looking back at things and memory, right? Memory is not always the most reliable narrator.
Mine isn't.
What?
Yeah, that Roundhouse photograph was a slide, so there's no backup, and it's gone forever.
Right.
So it was scan the old cover and try to improve it, which you could do. Or, get our friend who's an excellent photographer and have him go take a really cool shot of a grade crossing for the CTA.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Which is what little triangles are.
Yeah, and there's something of a history for that, especially for bands of that era. I mean, I think back Arch of Loaf kind of did something similar with some of their reissues, where it's like, these are, it's like references the original somehow, but like, it's a painting this time or like whatever, that's always kind of cool to see. Were you pretty excited, Mike, to just finally have usage for that stuff in the shoebox in the closet?
That was cool. It was exciting to have them printed right for the first time ever, other than Handsome, which came out really nice the first time. The other two, all respect to Amphetamine Reptile, but those printing job on 2 of those records was not up to snuff. And that was kind of my thing even back then, was being a graphic artist. So I knew that the art was made correctly.
Right. Yeah. And it's like,
sorry, Hayes, but he knew. I mean, it wasn't like it was to MREP. It was like, well, what are you making a record for? For a cover or for like a record? So good point. Valid point, but it was nice to have another crack at those. And I was out of work most of that last year, so kind of synced up that I could spend a shit ton of time on it.
Yeah, it was something that allowed for a lot of time suddenly.
Yeah, exactly.
Not sure if the viewers are aware, but
Mike, I could send you a whole box full of tar press clippings from the time I joined the band. Like I have an entire box.
Oh, really?
Stuff. Yeah, I do.
Scan some of that, put it on the page.
Yeah, I can just send it to you. It's easy. I mean, it's like a 40-pound box full of stuff.
Yeah, I think part of this effort was, it felt very much like a DIY thing. I mean, we were working with Henry, who's, put out a lot of records, himself, but as much as we could, we were doing it, ourselves and in Chicago. So, Bob did the mastering or remastering, and Smash Plastic did the pressing.
Brilliant. Smash Plastic.
Of course, no one, prints jackets in Chicago, and we were entertained to learn that apparently you still print them with Ross Ellis in Canada.
After all these years, okay.
Yeah.
Just like back in the day.
Yeah. So it's like, all right, well, because at one point we were like, let's just make everything in Chicago. And, there used to be lots of printing in Chicago, but.
Think like Fireproof and, this all the.
We did talk to Steve a little bit at Screwball,
Walters.
Steve Walters.
Yeah.
We were talking to him a little bit about how to get a box made, but he didn't do die cuts, so that went to Henry.
Yeah, that was a pain in the butt.
When did you guys first run into Owens? When was that?
Khyber Pass, I think.
Yeah, he came in
88, 9.
Oh, really? That early, huh?
Yeah.
He had seen. Really?
I just heard a great
Yeah,
Khyber
no.
Pass story the other night, unrelated to us, but there was a jerk sound man who cut Sally Timms and Mark Rebo off, and the crowd like went after him and wanted to beat him up. They played like 2 songs. The sound man's like, "You got 15 more minutes." Anyways, Khyber was always a great place and a bit raucous.
I love playing there.
And I think that's where we met Henry. I don't know the distance from York, Pennsylvania to Philly, but it was within Henry's radius.
Well, and he's always been as long as I've known him, he's been a big proponent of tar and a big booster and supporter. You know, like he's flying the tar flag even when there's no tar activity, really. And
That's true.
Yeah, I mean he was the adjutant that got us to do the double album of odds and ends and 7 inches and stuff, and that took, I don't know, 3-4 years to happen.
That was a lot of work too.
So you guys seem to be into all these things that require lots and lots of work.
Well, Mike and John did most of the work here, from what I can tell. Putting getting everything packaged and shipped out. I wish I could have helped them. I have to applaud those guys for all their effort to getting the record out to everybody. So, thank you.
You're welcome. It was a appropriate COVID related pain in the ass, but it was great that first run went so quickly.
Yeah, I think most of that was John and driving the car. I kind of got to sequester myself and just make artwork and let John deal with all the really harsh stuff, like everything that goes into making a record that's not fun.
The pressing details, the graphic design, the proofs,
the graphic, that stuff's fun to me. And even though it took a long time, it was not, I don't dread doing that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, holy crap, we're not doing a reissue, we're doing 4 reissues.
Well, it's just the scope and scale of it is what really I think is impressive. That like it's comprehensive, right? And it's not that the band doesn't deserve a comprehensive overview. In fact, if anything, the band absolutely deserves it. But as breathtaking as the output is, the amount of work put into it is equally, if not more, breathtaking.
Yeah, it was a labor of love, that's for sure.
So then, playing these shows, playing the shows with Shellac, doing the Ultramar's impeachment, so on and so on.
Shellac. Who didn't play it?
Yeah, with Shellac. Oh, the Ultramar's impeachment. Yeah, that's right. They did. That's right. They had to cancel out.
Steve hurt his shoulder or something like that.
I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, bike accident.
Yeah. But like playing all the shows, and you got the old heads, you got the folks from way back when, right? And then you have also folks who never saw you play, or like folks that maybe you know and are familiar with now, or even had lifetimes of friendships with, and it's like, hey, I'm going to do this thing that's very familiar to me, but maybe you've never seen it. Were there any kind of interesting experiences with that, as far as temporal whiplash or whatnot, doing like stuff that's like in a lot of cases older songs in a contemporary environment?
Well, I don't know about the music. I'll have to think about that. But you're right about people coming to see us who had never seen us, and that was 17, so whatever, 4 years. There's one guy in particular from the general Atlanta region who showed up at the Bottom Lounge shows, and he had, I think, driven up. His name's Sin Lee, and he was like, he was a little, he was very energetic and enthusiastic, which was awesome. And it just, struck by like how much we could mean to someone who never saw us, who we'd never met before, and we, folded up the tent in '95. So that was pretty cool to like, what is that, 17 years later?
Yeah.
Have people who were like, what you're doing is, really meaningful to me. which is really really touching.
Yeah, that's a nice thing.
Right? It's very flattering.
Tom, do you have any specific remembrances, or are you just trying to hold the angle with having the least FaceTime with anyone?
I'll just hold the angle. But actually, speaking of Sin Lee, actually one day I opened my mailbox and they have this box for me, and I open it and I'm like, what on earth sent me? I'm not expecting anything. I open it. There's a knit wool hat with a TAR logo on it from the TWA one, and then there's another one with the diamond pattern on it, and then he sent me something else. I can't remember what it was, but like, I never met the guy, and he sends me like a box full of TAR stuff that he made himself. Like, he programmed the CNC machine to knit a hat and put the stitching in the hat for it was pretty impressive. Yeah, it was very flattering. Somebody would do something like that for you.
That's a labor of love.
I think some of that going into the box set, and the reason, because we were like, oh, well, those records aren't available, we should reissue them, and it was like, well, okay, so that would be cool. And then sort of playing it out, right? It's like, well, if we had 4 records, that's like a box. We should do a box set. That's insane. Right. Thinking that there would be people that would appreciate it, and I hope to God that enough people will acquire it that we break even on it. And when it all, at least the initial run, sold so quickly, it was really really nice. It was humbling, frankly. I will add, and a plug, that now that we have a second reissuance underway, there is still 150 available. So
we'll get that Protonic reversal bump, and then sort everything out for you.
And I'm not seeing any comments in the chat, Conan.
That's because I'm now broadcasting on 17 different things like an idiot.
Is it just us? Is really just us?
No. There's plenty of people listening and viewing, but it's like some are on YouTube, some are on Twitch. Are you guys know Twitch? Do you guys Twitch at all?
My wife's very familiar with it. My wife works with them, actually.
Okay. Yeah, that's all pretty new, but I'm starting to question the sanity of streaming to everything all at once, because it basically means there's 1 or 2 people on each thing, and that's
right.
Whatever. But that's neither here nor there.
I watched some Twitch shows during COVID times.
Nice. So having nothing to do with Twitch, and we're talking about the incoming Protonic bump, right?
Yeah, bring it.
Folks, these are all, it seems to me, kind of direct mail order, largely, Bandcamp, modern services, things that didn't really exist when the band was around the first time. I would always appreciate the perspective of folks that were around and doing the work before this stuff existed versus now, and the challenges therein. I can't remember, John and Mike, I can't remember if we talked about this last time or not, but if we did, we're just going to repeat it, and that's okay, because people learn by repetition anyway.
I don't remember either.
Yeah, I barely remember what happened last week, let alone what happened last time you guys were on the show. But Mike, why don't you start off this time, when we can kind of, how do you feel about modern avenues of distribution versus how stuff was back in the day and whatnot, and being able to reach people, things like that? Is it easier, harder, same?
I guess it's easier. I guess it's much easier to me. It seems much easier. We really only do Facebook, right? Which is kind of like, thanks.
You have a presence on some of the
Instagram.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And there's there's.
See, I didn't even know that, but that's Facebook.
It is, and then there's the YouTube channel that you created.
Yeah.
That I don't do anything with.
Well,
I guess I should talk to my kids more, or Jackie maybe would be able to teach us about Twitch. Right, that's Tom's wonderful one. Jackie.
Well, this show and our 14 subscribers on Twitch really are success stories. So,
well, I will, reflecting on the ascendancy of No Blow Records. If you're a small label, selling records through distributors is a pain in the butt. Yeah. And So going direct through Bandcamp is wonderful, right? I mean, you sell stuff and a day later you're told, or the day you're told, and then 2 days later, poof, there's money from PayPal. So that's great, right? I mean, that, like, for the individual records of this release, we're using a distributor, but the distributor needs to buy them at half of what retail is going to be, right? Because everybody's got to get paid, right?
The supply chain, yeah.
Yeah, and so fine, if a record, an LP, should be $25 when someone buys it at a store, you can't sell it to a distributor for more than half of that.
Right.
But if we were doing that with the boxes, we'd lose money on every box. So
yeah,
so
not recommended. Yeah.
No, right. Yeah.
Terrible idea.
What we lose in margin we'll make up for in quantity. So there's no distribution of the boxes, but shipping costs suck. But what really sucks is selling things at a loss when you don't have to.
Right.
And it's all self-financed. So, like, I mean, labor of love is one thing, but
giving people stuff is
burning, taking out thousands of dollars and lighting it on fire and throwing it out the window is another deal entirely, which I don't recommend.
Yeah, aka being in a band these days. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, I mean, I think I don't think a lot of, like, the music industry. I love record stores. I'm fortunate to have one nearby, and I go there and I buy records, and sometimes I'm like, I could just go buy this on Bandcamp, but, like, I want that record store to exist,
right?
But like
because if they all go away, then there won't be any left.
Yeah, and all the community and stuff of, like, I mean, Mike and I met at a newspaper in college when we were both writing record reviews. And, occasions like that, or bumping into someone, flipping through the stacks, and you're like, that's a really good record. Like, I don't know how that stuff happens if there aren't record stores. People are going to nerd out on, Bandcamp chats or something. I don't know. Maybe they do. But so it's kind of I don't know. It's a crappy industry that in one way has deservedly crumbled. On the other hand, like, something needs to exist to help bands get the word out.
Well, and it seems like that's, like, one of the differences between then and now as well, is that, like, bands like yourself, showed that, hey, you can do this, and now everybody is.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah.
For better or worse, and there's more good stuff, there's more terrible stuff, and there's a lot more stuff in between.
A lot more reissues, which is right. I mean, and if it's better in some way, I think that's great. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, right. So we're in this. I don't know. The we is what, musicians, or maybe it's us specifically, that lead times are so long and it's so hard to get stuff pressed.
Yeah.
I mean, even our repress, which is simpler, right? Because we don't need to cut lacquers and get stampers, but Smash Plastic, and good for them, thank goodness, are just busy as hell. So our early December expected, receipt has been pushed to late January. So, I guess that's good for them, but something's going on. And the other good news is people still want, like, music in their hand.
They want the tactile, almost art piece, even though they can listen to music in any other format. Is kind of what it seems like to me.
Well, it's a bit fetishized. Sorry, go ahead, Tom.
I was going to say, this might be a little off topic. I don't know if you guys heard about this maybe a couple years ago. I think in California, during one of the wildfires out here, one of the big printing presses for vinyl records just got demolished, which printed most of the records in the United States.
That's right. I forgot about that.
So a place like Smash Plastic has got to be going gangbusters because
Rainbow?
of that. No, I think they closed, though, for some reason. I want to say they did, but they're right by where my in-laws live. They're like in Studio City.
Wow.
But I can't remember if they're still around. But yeah, the company that had a bunch of the printing, to make vinyl records, the things got melted in the fire.
Yeah, that was the there was a thing in Rolling Stone about that.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember the name of it, and totally drawing a blank. But
yeah, they were saying that as a result, getting vinyl records is going to take even longer because of that.
Because it's the lacquers, right? It wasn't the vinyl itself; it was the lacquers.
I can't remember which it was. Something, but it's something that's really going to hold up the process. So.
Yeah, I mean, Smash Plastic's going gangbusters, and they've added a second press, and they're adding a third, but that's not going to be online anytime soon.
Right, that takes time.
Conan Neutron's Protonic Reversal, brought to you by Smash Plastic.
Who've been great. I mean, they've been really wonderful.
I mean, this show,
they're busy as crap.
They're badass. So yeah, I'm joking, but they are absolutely badass.
Yeah, I think that's another. I don't know if it's a change, but it's certainly different. Like, one, that we're doing it ourselves, but the second part is that the people who are in the other parts of the manufacturing process are like fans of the music. I mean, I remember, the 12-inch tar and even the 7-inch, it's like you put your tape in the mail and, write a note as clear as you can make it about, here's how we want this mastered and blah, blah, blah. And then cross your fingers that the test pressing doesn't suck.
And then you get what you get.
It's like you're going to call someone up.
Like a message in a bottle, practically, hopefully this works out. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, Smash Plastic, the founders are available, and it's like,
and they're fans of music.
Yeah, and at one point they came by and brought I don't know, some jackets and sleeves or something to my house. Which is, a lot different from, someone in Nashville or Cincinnati.
My dog wants to say hi.
Oh, okay.
Hey, what's up, puppers?
Hello.
There's the star.
Doesn't sound too happy.
Star of the show right there.
I heard what you were saying. I don't like it.
It's like, whatever. Get away from me.
Yeah. So maybe that will be the, I don't know, silver lining is that there will be more music centered manufacturers along the way.
Well, and it always struck me that it seemed like Tar was a band very much of its community. When that community evolved and changed, right? That you had bands that you had common cause with, and while everybody sort of had a unique identity and did their own thing, there was definitely fellow travelers. I'm thinking of like Poster Children, right? Like as an example. Wish I could have seen them on Friday, but
heard it was great.
Yeah. And then I know that some people stay with it, some people don't, right? So like, is it interesting kind of seeing who stuck with it and who hasn't, and like what crossovers and corollaries there are? I mean, it's kind of a vague question, but basically like folks that still play music or like do it at any appreciable level and engaging with them like now, like while doing this versus just being regular humans necessarily. Pretty broad-based question.
Could you restate the question as a question?
Well, so what's it like being a band from that era and making music now, while also having the I guess Tom didn't care for that one.
That must have been an accident, I'm thinking.
He's like, I'm out of here.
He'll be back.
Always comes back.
Just community. Like, some bands are still around. Some bands have come back since then. Where do you think, like, Tar's place in the world is the same as it was before? Are you even thinking about that at all? Like, what's the temperature of the Tar?
I have no idea what it is.
I think of us as, and I don't mean this in a negative way right now, that we're sort of like a zombie band, which is that we're not dead, but we're not really alive. I mean, we're not actively writing new music. I think that part of what carries the day, and perhaps is why we want to keep doing stuff, is that we enjoy what we play and we enjoy playing with each other. And that also, rings true back to the earliest days of, DIY stuff, right? Pre indie rock, where it's like you're doing the stuff for yourself because you believe in it, or it gives you deep satisfaction. I'll add personally that I think, and it isn't a regret, but a mistake or miscalculation, was that I aged out of music personally. And so for a long time didn't play anything or touch any instruments or have any, I don't know, inclination. And I mean, a long time, I don't know, 17 years or something. And, I regret that because I am playing music now and, find it to be super enjoyable and one of the, most satisfying parts of my life. So, I think there's a bit of can you find enjoyment and, I don't know, energy or something in music as you get older?
Yeah.
And, and I would now say, well, yeah, that's a dumb question to even contemplate. And you got it wrong, John. But, I figured it out. So I'm glad to be much more active with music.
Do you feel that the value of it has changed or hit differently now versus back then?
He's back.
He's back. And that's for all you guys. As far as the relationship with the songs and the audience and doing it, does it hit differently now than it used to, or is it kind of more just a muscle memory, sort of oh yeah, this thing that we do?
The live stuff feels about the same. The rehearsals kind of are, to me, funner. And that's always been, I think, my take from being in a band is
words
is where it's at. And but as far as tar goes, just playing live once we got to the actual show, it kind of felt like a tar show, pretty much. When Tom was there, it didn't, not so much when we did a few in Atlanta a few years ago and Tom wasn't able to come. That was more like playing the show. What's happening over there, Tom? You all right?
I cut my leg somehow and I'm bleeding all over the place.
Oh,
oh damn.
I'll be fine. I just grab my leg, why have I got blood all over my leg?
I like this. I like the POV shot here, though.
Got some real time drama going on. That's
I can show you the blood.
Gore going.
It's not so bad.
But much more recently, John and I have been playing together and writing songs and stuff with a couple other friends, and that has the same vibe as back in the day for me. Right. And that's also, it's a different thing than what tar is now. Tar right now is old friends, I think, being able to hang out and do stuff again intermittently and trying to get it back to respecting what the songs were.
Well, and I want to talk about that too, but Tom, you were busy injuring yourself during this big question, but basically, exactly. Has your relationship with the music changed, or the audience or any other aspect of it, especially considering the fact that you're the one helicoptering in for this stuff, right? So it's an idea until you get in the same room to a certain degree.
Well, the thing that always catches me the most is when we play is how loud we actually are in the room. It's I always forgot. Wow, we were that loud in a room. And it seems like the last couple of times we practiced, the room seemed smaller than ever, and it seemed louder than ever. But I think that was really the only thing that kind of really threw me, because I wasn't used to that, to playing with people again. I hadn't really been playing music with people for quite a while, maybe 15 years. So to get back together with those guys was really fun. I just wish I had a little more time to do it. You know what I mean? Or I wasn't so far away to get there and to do it, because it'd be more fun to do it a little more often.
That visceral feeling of being in a room with everybody playing pretty loud. And Tom's right. That rehearsal space for the last time we played with Tom, we were within 5 feet, like 3 feet of each other.
Yeah.
It's a small room.
Yeah. And we were still at about 11.
Well, in that way, I'm thinking back to the fantastic story. I do remember this one of how you guys end up on the bill with Caius. There's lots of other bands that did that as well, even though you guys did it in your own way.
I'm sure they were louder.
Wait, there's a story there?
We played with the Dwarves and Caius, and us played in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember those guys too much. I just remember the Dwarves, trashing the place when they're done. Just standard fare.
15 minutes. Yeah.
I thought they were nice guys.
Yeah, they were actually. Despite the fact they're very entertaining,
And if you're trying to unload one of those dinky little PV things, didn't Josh Hom just, however you say his name, didn't he just drive up those little PV combo amps?
I think he did, if I remember correctly. It's funny is I don't know why I had when I had my furniture shop when I was making furniture. His band, the Queens of Stone Age, used to practice next to us. And when those guys got kicked out of there, I took over their space and made my shop bigger. They were actually very nice guys,
Yeah, I thought they were nice.
Yeah, that's when.
Were you, Conan? You were out on the West Coast at that point, right?
Oh yeah. I only have been in the Midwest probably for the past 3.5 years. So one of the reasons why I never actually saw you guys play until the reunions, personally.
Okay.
So I was familiar, but I wasn't familiar enough. I mean,
the concept.
No, I feel I just didn't know the records until it was, like I said, the first one I got was Over and Out.
Yeah.
Right? So and I was like, oh, these guys are great, and I missed the boat again. Same thing happened with Drive Like Jehu. There's a whole laundry list of bands that I've been able to catch.
But you were younger, right, at that point?
I was younger then than I was now. Yes, you were correct.
You're older than that now.
Yeah.
I don't feel like it today.
But I mean, missing the boat, you were probably 16 or 17 or something when that was happening.
Without an internet as we know it now.
Yeah.
Right.
Basically, my world changed when I started working at the record store, even though it wasn't a cool record store at all. And I got turned on to all these fantastic bands. It just was right as most of them were breaking up.
Well.
Henceforth, that show you guys played at Helium was the first time I'd ever seen you play, and I was ecstatic. It was awesome because I knew all the records, I knew all the songs, and I was like, "Wow, this is fantastic. I never thought I'd get to see this band. That's awesome."
That was I remember that one being a lot of nerves because it had been so long.
Because that was the first one.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, that was 17 years.
Was that the
I think I cajoled everyone.
PRF thing or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how's the first strum of the first song for that?
I think we messed
I will
up.
tell you, that first song we nailed, it was Trauma.
Yeah, no, yeah, that was good.
It was
that was really good.
Oh damn, we could still do that.
Yeah, I remember afterwards, maybe it was a joke that it took me several years to realize. Albini was like, "Looked like you guys were having fun up there."
Oh man, that was brutal.
And I was like, "Oh, okay."
First show in 17 years, and he's busting on us within 10 seconds of the last note ringing out.
You can always one of my favorite replies is that the singer for that band Creed, which I find just ear cancer, but he said, "Thanks for the words."
Thanks for the words.
Not the nice words or the kind words.
Thanks for the words. Yeah, that always stuck in my mind.
Yeah,
I thought it was great. I didn't have anything to base it off of. I thought it was fantastic.
I remember we were setting up or something, and they were projecting Twitter feeds on the walls.
Yes.
And someone posted something saying, "Wow, these guys are really old." which what is that? 12. So that's 9 years ago now.
Yeah,
So
well,
yeah, I mean we're all in our, to be generous, our mid 50s. We're exiting middle age.
Hey, I've already had part of my colon removed, you know.
that's when you know it's real.
Hopefully, it's the part you don't need.
Exactly.
Well, but then there's also something to be said for the fact that like listening to the remaster of Jackson, which is fantastic, and by the way, everyone can get that. It's like what 180 gram vinyl, right? I mean, it's like an audio file.
That's right.
Pressing.
Yeah,
Substantial slab of colored wax.
We spared no expense, and I can vouch for that.
And again, just if you're remotely a fan in any way, shape, or form, it's absolutely worth getting.
For the love of God, purchase and if you have, thank you.
And if you haven't, it makes a great gift, as Al Franken used to say.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's the giving time of the year, isn't it?
It is. But you know, like again, and not just to harp on the one record, but I mean, I think Jackson came across like really well. Like I think Roundhouse probably. I think you're right, John. I think that probably wins the most improved award. But I think there's some songs that like didn't do it for me on my like CD that I got at like Amoeba, and I was like, oh, this is good. Like this cooks. This has more presence or whatever it is that mastering does.
I think we all would agree that Jackson and probably Over and Out were the high water marks. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah,
that's what it is for me. So I understand when people are like, "Oh, Jackson," like, and I'm not trying to be toot my own horn, but that's probably my favorite as well.
I think I'm more in the parent view. Like, it's hard to pick your favorite child.
Kid. Yeah.
Because they represent different times and different parts of the band.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess the good news is none of them are a embarrassing mistake. But first record, clearly you're figuring things out. Second record, you got more figured out, hopefully. And the big changes with Jackson, Tom at the top of the list, and then a consistent rehearsal space, for the love of God. Why is that so hard? Is a big deal. I don't know. I'm happy people have a favorite record, but I kind of think of the band in its entirety.
Yeah, like
so,
one long through line.
Yeah, but it's a fair question when someone's like, "Oh yeah, I heard about them. Where should I start?" To which I would quickly say, "Well, the reissued box set would be a great place to start."
Yeah, it's available for a very reasonable price.
Yeah, there's 150 left, please. It makes a nice gift for Valentine's.
Well, I think that like it's
and Christmas
and birthdays,
not gonna ship by then.
President's Days right around the corner, my friends.
Start your shopping now. But it occurs to me too that like that's been the idea. The box set has sort of been socialized just by word of mouth, right?
Yeah,
it's something where. Again, it's a big world right now. Like even just taking the music part of it, there's so much stuff that's happening like all the time, always. Like it can be kind of hard to even get a purchase on stuff. But I mean, in my world, that was like huge news that when you guys did that. Holy crap, that's amazing!
Our marketing juggernaut was in full form. I mean, I feel like we're just slogging it for months on Facebook and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, so that's the upside downside. Like, how do you get the word out? And the other hand is like, well, just sit here in your home office and make posts and put up pictures of guitar picks and pressing plant videos and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, that's new going on tour, apparently.
Hey, if it works.
It's such a weird time because of that.
Yeah. You
just can't do that now. And at our age, we can't do it, even if COVID or not.
Yeah.
So,
it's,
people's lives are just getting in the way right now for us. At least for me, that's my thing.
Is there ever, and I'd like to get an answer from everyone. How do you pick a set? Like when you guys do a set, like is it just like whatever stuff you thought you played best live back in the day? Like, are you giving a thought now towards like, well, we should play some stuff up this record, this reissue came out? Like, how do you pick the songs?
Well, I think a new part is what can we play?
What can we remember how to play?
Yeah, honestly, like that's a bit of it. And like, given time constraints, like, to Mike's comment earlier about the All Tomorrow's impeachment shows, like, I feel like the second of the two things were falling into place, and there was times where I was like, man, if we had like a week of shows, we could figure a lot of stuff out.
Yeah.
But to me, it's a combo of stuff we can play, humbly, and some kind of mix across the periods of Tar. I mean, it begs the question of why don't you guys just play Jackson live from start to finish? It's a fair question.
Probably a good way to move some units.
And an answer might be Goethe, but if the thumb is still up, I'd take that on.
Tom?
Yeah, see, that's an inside joke for Tar. I'm not a big fan of Goethe live. It's one of our songs for people who the dozen people out there who may or may not know that one.
Or not have ever heard it spoken aloud.
Yeah. Well, that's, I don't know. Am I even saying it right? Jeff? Am I saying it right, Goethe?
Yes.
That's how I'd say it.
Would it be because your foot's on the kick drum the whole time, going do 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 from start to finish?
Honestly, it is about me. It's a selfish reason. I never friggin' played that song well. So,
well, being me hearing you play it, I'd say it's a hard song to play.
Here, if you guys want to play that album live, I'm here for it. I will do my best on that song.
I hope you're recording this.
Yeah, I was gonna say you heard it here first.
Be bad at it.
So there you go. Tar shows, we do two sets. One is Jackson, and the other is Dealer's Choice.
2 sets. Wait a minute. Oh, 2.
Is that actually how you say that? It's Goethe? Is how you pronounce that?
Goethe,
the German philosophizer.
I should know that because I took 3 years of the language.
I think, to me, one of the meanings of that song is that in Chicago there's a street called Goethe, and nobody says it the same way. You hear Goeth, Goetti, Getty, Goeth, Goethe, Goethe.
It's like that one version
Institute.
That's right. That's true. There's that one version of because there's different cities called Paris, and there's one of them where they just call it Pear, like it's in like South Dakota or something.
Yeah.
Like Alabama.
There's Cairo, Illinois.
Yeah.
And you do not say Cairo, you say Caro.
Caro.
And
yes,
some pronounce Goethe as Jeff.
Jeff.
Well, but getting back to the song selection and after the breaking news of the impending Jackson in its entirety set, Tom, again, you're coming at this from perspective of you're not with the rest of the guys. So do you have to like pick when you're picking the songs? Do you like take that into account of like, all right, what's can I get speed on the quickest?
That's usually helpful. It's what can I remember?
Yeah.
But like I said before, for me, really, if I just if I know we're going to play, like usually what we'll do is we'll kind of say, well, what about we'll all put out a list and we'll yay or nay them all.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes there's been a couple times maybe I think I've thrown a couple songs out there where it got shot down, but most of the times when everybody puts a song on and says we want to do that, how about this one? We all usually say yes. So, but usually, it's mostly what can I really remember the easiest, because there's some songs to be going down a well where I don't know where I'd get if I'd come back out if I really tried to figure them out, because they're just so complicated. Some of them, like they have like such little subtle nuances to them that it would drive me crazy to try to remember it all.
And then, like what's the result? I mean, the phrase that I always use, not mine, but it's 1,000-mile walk in the desert for an ice cream cone.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I might be able to figure it out, but then do all of us come? You know,
Yeah, congrats.
Do all of us come together, and does it stay melted, or does it? You know?
Yeah, exactly. And
Right.
it's so it feels like there has to be like decisions made.
Right.
And I think that's something that I think that's important with because you mentioned, John, like being like a zombie band, right? Like the fact there's not really, and this is my pivot towards a excellent question in the chat, which is that is there any chance of any new tar material? Is that going to be a thing that potentially could happen?
Well, I think my background to the answer is to not underestimate either the possibilities or desire, and to be, I guess, open and accepting of things that may be. So to that, I would say, yeah, why not?
Tom wrote one about a year ago or two, I believe.
I'm always writing riffs.
He sent it around, and then we just haven't gotten back together since then.
Right.
There's nothing been done with that.
Oh, did anything happen? Is there a reason why? Yeah.
It's mostly distance.
And
know,
the pandemic.
Yeah, the pandemic really kind of.
But mostly distance. Tom is right. We could.
Well, I think it's double distance, right? Because Mark's a couple hours south of us, and that's not realistic.
Right.
I mean, interestingly, Mike and I are what, 5 minutes from each other right now. I don't know why we're not in the same room. Well, I know why.
Well, I don't like to go into that, but
so my hope is certainly that we play some shows again, and you know, Conan, that we had planned to play your Disco Inferno.
Yeah, and Caterwall is on for 2022.
We threw our hat back in the ring.
Everyone cross your fingers and watch out for the Omicron. But I think there's at least a precedent for folks having done things on that scale now. That
Conan, we were talking amongst ourselves. You may want to just bring this thing to Milwaukee.
Yeah, I think
with Gus.
I think for all concerned, that would be better.
I mean, come on now.
You're there. We're practically there. Mike was there yesterday.
I mean, look, it's easier for me, but this is a partnership. It isn't a Conan Neutron enterprise exclusively. So,
do we get a vote?
You want me to talk to somebody?
Okay, let's get a quorum, and then somebody will make a motion. Somebody has to second the motion.
Last shows, there's a question in the chat. Last shows we played before COVID. I would say that was the 2017.
Where's this chat?
Impeachment.
You can see it on the.
It's in the web browser.
Yeah, in the Space Age web browser. There's the private chat, and then there's
we played 3 shows that were really part of a birthday party for a friend. And unfortunately, Tom wasn't there, so I don't really think of those as tar shows. So that was in 2018. So 2017 was the last time all 4 of us were performing together.
God, was it that long ago? Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Well, we've been in 2 years of deep freeze.
That was at Bottom Lounge in Chicago.
Yeah, that was the last show we all played together.
That was the All Tomorrow's Impeachment. So we talked about at least.
Yeah.
That was with let's see, Poster Children,
Nonagon,
Shellac, who couldn't play because
Grizzly Bear, or Bear Claw, I think it was.
Bear Claw was on that.
Lardo, and Poison Arrows.
That's right.
Yeah,
it was great.
His latest record is fantastic.
Oh, Dianoga.
Oh, and Dianoga.
Yes, one night. Yeah,
Can't forget that.
We
Good
filled
one.
the bingo card of who played that show without cheating.
I have that hanging up over here.
Put your camera over there.
So, but it's interesting that you guys are in this position where there's again, folks like myself that never got a chance to see it the first time and are interested in it, and maybe even interested enough to buy the box set. Copy's still available. But y'all have lives. It's expensive to go play these shows. There's a lot of effort, even just to get everybody in the same room because of distance.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is the idea, do you have any sort of adventure-based concepts that like you can think of that of like people that immediately start clamoring the second a band starts playing. Oh, go play Bolivia. Play Sicily. Oh, okay, yeah. We're trying to play a song right now. Thank you.
Well, it seems like out of equity, we ought to head to the West Coast and play in Tom's neck of the woods.
That would be fun.
Yeah, we
just travel for once.
We just tend to make
you guys can come here.
Whatever. So that would be nice.
I think whether it was the 2012 shows or the 17, or even I'll asterisk the 18, was part of what made it fun. Was it wasn't just like, hey, we're playing it, and no offense, but Sudsies on a Tuesday night to 50 people, because my life is too short for that. But
Sudsies around.
I wonder. I don't know. Pick a
I
name.
Sorry.
Toads.
Please continue.
But like to do something that's like an event that has some sort of special quality to it, because that's fun, and then of course playing with your friends, and hopefully one is our friends in our band, and then the other is friends in bands that we enjoy, and like that 2017 All Tomorrow's Impeachments, part of it was playing with the Poster Children, and hopefully playing with Shellac, but can't fault Steve. He legitimately broke his collarbone.
Yeah, there's not much.
Apparently, although we went to Europe and played shows a couple weeks later.
But we're not judging.
No.
or keeping track, apparently.
If he prefers to go to Europe than play with Tar, that's the choice. Yeah. Right.
But when you're doing, like that was an event with what can we say, the worst president in American history?
I think that's
pretty much.
Yeah, and then our friends' bands, that was a lot of fun. And then the 2012 thing was fun, the PRF deal. And then later that summer we played, was it just one show? The show with Shellac?
Yeah, I think there was one.
Yeah, and that was Shellac's 20th, 15th anniversary, something. And we were in the old Chicago night. Apparently there was old Chicago and new Chicago. So we were in the old Chicago set.
Gotcha. Appreciate the delineation. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very important to get that separated.
Made sense to someone.
Well, I think that there's certainly an appetite with it. It's been bizarre and cool to see the last 5-6 years, this kind of new generation of people into, for lack of a better term, noise rock. It's maybe one of the most surprising resurgences. I mean, garage rock, you expect it. It's like every 5-6 years or something. Oh, rock and roll is back. All right, whatever. But the fact that all these people are like going back and like discovering all these like touch and go like AMRAP bands and like in some cases being from an entirely different generation. That there's something to be said there. There's something to be said for like making something that's lasting and that touches people, and it means quite a bit for maybe a smaller group of people, but like maybe not enough to sustainably tour for people that have like families and lives and responsibilities. But I mean, that to me that means a lot, and it's something that I think a lot of the listeners of the show clearly agree with because they're listening to this show.
Well,
I mean,
Brody
you guys
and Julie, definitely. I was thinking about this earlier today that, if there's 400 or 500 people in the world that are Tar fans or care about Tar, I think that's great. Like to me, it's like we should be the band members happy and satisfied with what we're doing, or we shouldn't do it. But if we are happy and satisfied, like what's then the next measure of satisfaction? I don't want to say success because that's loaded. It's like, if there's some people who like us and, want to hear our stuff, I think that's great. I mean, it's not going to get us in a van schlepping across the country or the world, but
you can post some stuff on social media.
Enough to, play and hopefully, make some new music.
Do people still get in a van and,
Yeah.
I know you, like, before COVID, you were doing that stuff, and I would always see your
You should
posts.
ask Mets.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, their stuff
That's
got
right.
robbed a couple nights ago, right?
Yeah,
Or a
that
week
still
or so
happens
ago.
too, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's brutal.
That sucks.
As if it wasn't hard enough being a band or
Right.
a human being, but being in a band
Terrible.
for the past like year and a half that like you get robbed. Like, oh. Yeah, I mean it's
Horrible.
that's an interesting. Yes, but the question of touring does it make sense? I think it makes sense if the journey for you is the destination. That's probably the best way I can put it. And it's perfectly understandable if it's not, but like it's both amazing and soul breaking and wildly inconsistent in between. Like, and sometimes that's the same week. Like, it's crazy.
I
And that
don't
was
think
before the COVID.
the destination didn't happen for us, but for quite some time, I think we were happy about the journey, just the going out there and playing and meeting people and stuff.
Yeah, grateful for the adventure. Yeah.
But
Right.
like then at some point, you don't want to sleep on people's floors, or you've got a family to create and raise, or a career or whatever. I mean, I'm at a point where like I'm actually seeing a lot of live music these days, and writing and rehearsing regularly. So,
Well, and you're playing in a different genre now too, right? So to speak, like with Langford and whatnot. Like that's fascinating. We haven't talked about that at all because this is guitar specific, but I think that's
a different show. But
it's a
yeah,
different show. We'll come on for that for sure.
yeah.
But I mean, that's coming from this world and those experiences. I mean, John, do you find that commonality of experience to carry over, despite the genre not being, precise, and like the name, some of the names being the same and some of the names not?
Well, I think all of us, including all of us here, like we're fans of music. And, I met Mike when we were writing record reviews for the college newspaper. We met Mark at a show we all three of us wanted to go to. Tom had been in bands in Boston and then came back, and through Brad, who we knew from college, connected us. It's like, I suspect we all, hold a very special place for music. And, it was a Friday, I saw a blues band, not usually my fare, but this dude ripped it up. And, I'm excited about Mets playing. I'm excited about Girls Against Boys in February. Going to go see a jazz trio next month. It's December in 2 days. Yikes. So like, if you like it and it's music, like jump in.
Yeah.
And so other stuff I've been doing outside of TAR, it's just like, let's play stuff we like.
Right. Which it's hard to go wrong that way. Speaking of stuff you like, Tom, how's the hunt for the new aluminum going? I see a neck in the background there.
I put one together there.
Yes, let's see it.
You can see it.
Happen to have it here.
Tom's, you're throwing your hat in the luthier.
That's the sword of Damocles.
I was gonna say we don't want to be flagged for pornography.
Yeah. No, okay. I made that, or actually, I put that together. I got the Illuminati neck, and I just took a square body and stuck it together and put some nice pickups in it, and a nice new bridge. And boy, it's a lot of fun.
Nice.
It's like I probably played 4 hours today. My bass, where I probably played 4 hours, probably since the last time guitar played. So I don't play my bass very often. I play my guitar all the time. So it was really fun to get me to start playing bass again. It's just
you're like a guitar player first, anyway, right?
Yeah. I always play guitar first. So
yeah,
I just had more like playing bass with people than I do with guitar. I like playing bass more, actually.
We didn't have an opening. I'm sorry.
I like playing bass.
The opening was on bass.
Guitar with people, actually. So,
but now that you think about it, 3 guitars is 1 guitar better.
Exactly. There have been bands that have done that and managed to pull it off. Although it does get
Skinner do that.
Can just tune one down a little bit, or get a baritone guitar.
The baritone, yeah, the baritone is
Did someone say bass 6?
bass 6.
A lot of bass 6 in that Beatles
Ooh,
stuff.
I want to get one
I
of
was
those.
There we
just
go.
about to say that.
There we go.
I just been dreaming about one of those for months now.
It helps fill things out.
Yeah.
That's Lennon gig, apparently.
Those are really nice. Who is it? Reed from Shadowy Men played one of those. That's the first time I ever got to play one of those. I played his, and that was like so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
I've always wanted to get one, but now I noticed that Fender has one they reissued. That's pretty cheap.
There you go.
Nice.
So I have to think about that.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, why not? Right?
That's why I've been thinking.
So we can chat in the chat as well, can we? I don't think so.
You can
Facebook somewhere. It's being driven by Facebook. I don't know how to. I went to the Facebook page. I can't get to these comments, so I don't know how to do it. Thanks, Julie.
It's in the web browser.
You think I'd have answers for this, but
yeah,
no, it is, but you can't comment there.
You can do it to YouTube and you can do it to Twitch. Facebook doesn't want to let you do it for some reason. I don't know why. Facebook does whatever it wants.
All right.
So was there a definitive answer to the any chance for a new material question? It seemed like
I think the definitive answer is why not?
Yeah. Never say no.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Got to keep the mystery going.
I want the technology where we can all practice from different locations at the same time.
It probably exists, but I don't think we have it.
It works if you're nearby, but it's not.
It
doesn't work well enough if you're far away.
What I've noticed is that practice spaces usually have the worst internet possible.
Right.
It's like whatever you need to be contractually obligated to say is like internet is what are usually rehearsal spaces, and that's not the best for low latency stuff.
Right.
Actually, it's not the best for low latency queuing. Yeah, okay, whatever.
With a little more compression, you might be able to correct. A little delay.
Yeah, exactly. But does it affect everything? Oh, suddenly the guitar went shoegaze on this one. It's kind of wild.
You're the Simpsons scientist guy, Tom.
Well, now I can't recall anything he says offhand.
We used to practice on Simpsons night when we were writing Jackson. Like one of them, we practiced 2 or 3 times a week. One of them was always Simpsons night. We'd sit and we'd watch that before practice in their living room.
And then we go downstairs and.
So that's why we named the song "Trauma."
Yeah, there was
a Dr. Nick quote.
Dr. Nick, that's not a smudge. That's trauma.
Yeah,
I was looking at the blueprint. The one where Blue gets Bart gets hit by Smithers, I think. No, Mr. Burns in his car or something.
Yeah. See that? Anyway,
that's a good conversational topic that I'm kind of curious on, because I think you guys have very interesting song titles. Like sometimes it seems relatively arbitrary from an outside perspective, or that it comes from some in-joke or something.
And an insider's perspective.
Do you have any sort of, did it still make sense why songs were called what they were when you're going through and repackaging all this material? Like, why do we call it that? Or was it all still pretty clear?
Why don't you take that one, John?
Well, yeah, I think so. Often we would do music first, and then lyrics would show up, and you had to have some kind of working title to know what the thing was you were working on. Yeah. And sometimes those lived on, and sometimes they got overcome by the events of the lyrics, where it was the lyrics fit in and I was the lyricizer. So Short Trades, when we were working on that, was John's shorts, because it was so damn hot when we were rehearsing. I think, as I recall anyways, I wore shorts, which I'm not one to do much. So it was sort of that was the one practice where John wore shorts. And then Short Trades is sort of become something else a little bit more. I don't know if sinister is the right word. if you've ever shorted a stock.
I was gonna say everyone's gonna think of the stock market now, which is
Yeah.
different connotation.
Which was, I mean, I had no business talking about the stock market then, but anyways, betting on something to fail.
Yeah.
It's a little rough.
Yeah.
But people do it all the time.
People make not just a living, but a very good living at doing that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So it was probably one or the other. I mean, I think, I don't know if it's alliteration or cleverness just has some appeal where it's like, oh, that's a good song title. I mean, I think Viaduct Removal was a title independent of the lyrics. Well, no, I guess maybe not. I mean, about a concept, right? Of parts of a city disappearing, including viaducts, which you think of as having some kind of permanence, and you look up one day and there's the fucking sky. It's a pretty big deal. So it strikes you. I don't know. So it's a combo. If that is any kind of general answer.
I think Gerta is actually a working title because I don't think that pertains to the words, right?
Right.
Yeah. And
It's a good one though.
Tellerman came from the working title, which was Ballad of the Storyteller.
Which originally was Ballad of the Salad.
Which was Ballad of the Salad. Yes. I forgot about that.
Oh, why'd that one not stick?
I can't remember which one was Lonely on the Stoop.
Lonely on the
Originally.
Stoop
Yeah,
was
that was-
Crossoffer.
Okay.
And Landluck was Lucky Bastard.
That's
Working
right.
title was Lucky Bastard.
That's right.
Lonely on the Stoop, so named because a guitar part when we were working on it was the Lonely on the Stoop part because it was like a lone note or something, I think. I don't even know if that even got to stay in the song, but I think that was, so many working, Carpal Tunnel was like because you guys basically gave yourselves carpal tunnel trying to play that chord.
Yeah.
It was an awkward chord to play.
That one I actually figured out. I was like, I bet that's just because of weird chord.
Yeah.
I don't know what Welp comes from at all. I have no idea.
Lawrence
Welp. That's a working title too that stuck, but I can't remember where we got it.
What about Barry White? Why was that Barry White?
Working beat.
Okay.
It's a nice rhythm.
Yeah, I stole the original drum beat for that song from I can't remember which song. That down 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 whatever song that I'm gonna love you just a little.
Baby, baby, I'm going to
yes, that song. I ended up not using that drum beat, but we kept calling the song Barry White anyway.
Right.
Nice.
But it had that.
Yeah, no, I can hear it. Okay.
To begin with. Sorry. Probably enough of that. Sorry.
How dare you drummer. What clinchers one I always wondered about. Like,
Softball.
Pope?
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
I think that was about the Pope.
Was it about the Pope?
Had a tumor the size of a
softball. Yeah.
Size of
remember he had like some kind of colon cancer and he had removed like the size of a grapefruit or something like that. Yeah.
Jesus.
It's the size of a 16-inch clincher.
Oh, yeah. It's like the size of your head.
That's rough business.
That's memorable.
Yeah, that's like
I'm not going to forget it anytime soon. Yeah,
you have like a C-section for that,
Teetering was teetering on the brink, and I can't remember what that was referring to.
I think it was just the feel of the song and how it had this feeling of it.
It was also called Big Dumb Bass Riff when Tom brought it in.
With all due respect.
Tom was like, I have this big dumb bass riff, and it was just like that one note thing.
That's from the Truth in Advertising department.
Yeah, it was a great riff. It was a great bass riff.
Some of the best riffs are big, both big and dumb. And that's the thing with that at all.
Yeah, a lot of really good songs have two notes, and not a lot, but some great songs have one. So.
What was that? What is it? Was it a good part wrong band?
Oh yeah. That describes that song, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that's that is in my pantheon of like.
Yeah, didn't seem like a Tar song.
We're not the band to play this song, but I guess we're going to record it anyway.
The cheek is was appreciated for sure.
This is the decoder ring. Maybe we should do a Q&A and get the questions up front. Although they'd just be from you probably, Conan and Julie.
Well, I got to say, I really appreciate you guys taking the time and doing it as a group, which I know it's hard to coordinate. I think it's
fun.
This is going to be of interest for a lot of folks, and it's something that I hope people do go out and get that box set. I'll link to it in the show notes when it goes on the podcast, which is how most people listen.
I hope
I think if you're a fan of the band, it's like it's a mitzvah. It's a treat. It's a wonderful thing. Like, it's like, what you need to get into it? Come on, like, let's get down to it. So last thing, and I want to thank you guys so much for the time. Is that there's a canned question I ask, and it's the only question I ever ask at the end of the show, and you can choose to interpret it however you like. We'll go in each person answering individually. Tom, we'll start with you. Why do you do what you do?
Because I can't function around other people if I'm not playing music.
It's a great answer.
I have a hard time being around people, and playing music for me is my outlet to express myself. Otherwise, I can't get it out otherwise. So, corporate jobs aren't for me. I tried that, and it was I could do it. It just wasn't wasn't my style. So yeah, making music is really why I do it, because I just really love it, and I've done it my whole life. So that's it.
Mike, how about you?
That's an excellent answer, I think. I've never thought of not trying to be creative that way, and I think like even since Tar, like Tom and I were in a band for like a long time. I was in another band with Mark for a long time, and most of those bands I consider semi. I always use this term, kind of bowling night bands, because I kind of after Tar, it kind of to me, I kind of decided the thing I like about bands is the writing the songs and the rehearsing them and hanging out with some dudes creating this thing out of nothing. That's where I get the most satisfaction. And I kind of related to Tom's comment. I'm not a people person too much. Like I can do this kind of thing, because I'm sitting alone in my apartment. That's fine.
Oh, that's why I'm not over there.
Being on a stage with a whole fucking band in front of me is fine. But
getting salty.
What John and Tom have to do at a live show, that would never happen. But it's creating something out of nothing. It's an outlet, creative outlet. I have to do it. I have to have that. And I was pretty fucking unhappy when I wasn't playing drums for like several years in the 2010s. Go, John
Mohr.
All right. So I will say I'm an introvert, but in my professional life, I have to deal with a lot of people, which is okay, but I'm an introvert. I think, like what Mike just said, the thrill of making something new is pretty great, and it still is. I think for a while, as I tried to sort of pick apart, like, why I didn't play music, like aspects of my work were sort of in a creative manner, and so maybe that filled a void. Maybe. So there's that. Making stuff and collaborating, not just like, I'm a bedroom, I don't know, jockey, but like, you're working stuff out with others. Like that collaborative thing is wonderful. I'm certainly a fan of music, a lot of different types of music. So, just being involved in a way, whether it's like, I'm helping write something or I'm connecting with people who enjoy the music I'm writing because I'm a fan too is pretty great. I mean, just seeing the comments in the chat here on StreamYard is a reminder of that. I think there's a little bit of like Mike was saying, just like not doing it is kind of a dissatisfying place to be. I'll add sort of in the pandemic theme, over the past couple of years, it felt almost like this existential need. Like I don't want to just sit here at home and live on Zoom and not do anything. So there's that. I mean, I think the other thing that is probably a whole other hour and a half is about considering one's legacy and when you're done, like what remains. And so it's pretty cool that 30, 35 years on, the stuff we're doing still matters to us or still matters to others. So, not a lot of people can say that.
Well said. Thank you so much, gentlemen. This has been a pleasure.
Thank you, Conan.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, until next time.
Oh, okay. See you.
Oh, there they go. There they go. The gentlemen of Tar. The gentle dudes of Tar. Fantastic. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Let's listen to a song and then go get the box set.
We'll get better.
All right. That's, I think we settled on Goethe, right? I think we settled on Goethe as being like what that one's called. And I'm very excited that was the Dudes of Tar. And that's something that I hope that you guys enjoyed, because I enjoyed it very much. And I will have them on anytime, anywhere. Know that. Works better when you push the button. Yeah, go get the box set. If you haven't already. The box set is chunklet.bandcamp.com/album/tarbox. It's pretty special. If you're watching or listening to this show, it's 100% for you. Guaranteed. You can also follow Tar. I guess do it on Facebook. Their Instagram isn't really active. For whatever reason. Facebook, I think it's Tar the Band, maybe? Tar Band Official, something like that. Some dude's named Tar. Can't remember exactly what it is. I'll pull it. It's Tar the Band. I was right the first time. Follow them on Facebook if you're on that. The name of the show is Conan Neutron's Protonic Reversal. Thanks so much for listening to it. The show airs usually on Thursdays, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 6 Mountain, 5 Pacific. This has been a Quarantimes edition, streaming a whole bunch of other things also. Tell you what, though, ProtonicReversal.com for the archives. Always free, no ads, no sponsors, no kidding.
I've got
Patreon.com/ProtonicReversal, $1 a month if you want to get the episodes sooner. It's an on-demand world. This business costs money, too. Early access. Thanks, everyone, for liking and subscribing to the show, sharing around. That's how people find out about it, and it's always appreciated. Thanks so much for listening.
this microphone turns sound into electricity.
Bunch of good stuff coming up. We got Ken Andrews, A Failure, Will Goldsmith, Sunday Real Estate.
Can you hear me now?
Stay tuned.
Out on Route 128.
Stay safe out there.
I got my radio
Take it
on.
easy.
Can you hear me now? 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 See the radio. And that snare drum and that drum roll means we've got a winner. If you're the fifth caller, or any caller at all, welcome to my top 10. I'd like to thank our sponsor. But we haven't got a sponsor. Not if you were the last man on earth. She was prepared to prove it. This one goes out to a special girl. There is no special girl. It's the end of radio. The last announcer plays the last record. The last what? Leaves the transmitter circles the globe in search of a listener. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Is it really broadcasting if there's no one there to receive? It's the end of radio. As we come to the close of our broadcast day, got my radio on. Can you hear